Welcome all to another episode of The Scoop, your go-to resource to cut through all the noise surrounding Juventus's transfers and transfer rumors. My name is Zach. Of course, I am joined by Frederic, through whom we get our inside information to give us the little dose of truth of what's really happening behind the scenes. Frederic, how are we doing today?
We're doing very well. I think it's not even transfer market season yet officially, and I'm getting cluttered already with messages and info and whatnot. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to share with you and the people viewing. So
Yeah, we
I'm excited.
absolutely yeah, we absolutely wanted to do one of these before the market officially opened. We didn't realize that there would be so much activity. I mean, Frederic was texting me constantly. I woke up to a whole bunch. Then he's like, you got to change these because new information has come in." And that, when that kind of stuff happens, it's a lot more fun for us. We want to share kind of what's really the hot news behind the scenes for y'all, and I think we have a little bit of that today.
Yeah,
Um, for those new to the Scoop, this is Turning Giants' transfer program. We are fortunate enough to have Frederic, who has contacts within Juventus' organization, who's willing to share us inside information on the condition of anonymity, and we are happy to share that with all of you. We are live on YouTube, and so I want to say hi to the folks who have already popped into chat. We got Jorgo, Mohammed, Alliance, and Niket. Welcome, and everyone else who is watching. If you are watching this after the fact, please like, subscribe, 5 stars, or whatever it might be based on the platform that you are tuning in from. From a housekeeping matters, Frederic, I think that's about it, right? Shall we jump into our list of names?
let's go.
Let's do it. All right, we've got 8 potential additions. 8. That's a decent number. In fact, I had to create a new template because usually my slides only account for 7. So we were so excited. We wanted to share information on this, create a new template for all of you. I think there were some rumors floating around on Twitter, Reddit, and so forth about a first name. So let's start with it right off the bat. Marco Senesi, center back for Bournemouth. Contract expires at the end of the season. Why has he popped up recently, and what temperature or likelihood, as we do on the Scoop, would you put as to him potentially joining Juventus?
I'm gonna start with the temperature straight off the bat, if you don't mind, Zach, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd give him a red hot because we've been following Senesi since the summer already. We're in constant talks with him and his management. He's very much open to join Juventus, but there were some difficulties negotiating with Bournemouth during the summer. And now we plan to sign him because he's going to leave on a free this summer. But I wouldn't rule out the fact that we might try to poach him a bit earlier on, considering, well, that we have a couple of people in that position that are either not fulfilling their whole potential or are injured or whatever. And it could be that if we have that opportunity to snatch him up already, that we could go for it. But that also depends on our outgoing transfers as well, because for the people listening or watching, we still are under the scrutiny of financial fair play. We're pretty much kept under a loop. So the things that we need to do, we need to make sure that we do them accordingly and following regulations. So it's going to be a bit of a difficult one in terms of getting players in without having to sell players or loan them out. So they're all connected in one way or another, and it'll be a lot more clear at the end of the show.
Needless to say, he's red hot. What to join Juventus when he joins is still an open question. Is that a fair sort of synopsis?
I think so. He still, gets a lot of. He's courted by a number of teams, but none of those teams for now are as appealing to him as Juventus are. Not in terms of salary or whatever. He's just very keen on joining Juventus. As to the why of that, I do not know. But I know he's very keen on a move to Italy as a whole, but more specifically to Juventus. And I see Asamet in the chat saying any chance of Gatti leaving to create room. This could very well be the sort of tumbling block that we need in order to facilitate that move from Senesi. So I think they're pretty much linked together. But as I said, if
But
one goes
linked
in,
for January, right? Not
yeah, yeah,
necessarily linked for
no,
the summer.
no. But Bournemouth have expressed their interest in Gatti as well.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where that's going to lead, but they're all intertwined. As I said,
Mhm.
if one of somebody comes in, somebody has to leave, especially salary wise. So it's gonna be a special one this mercato. That I can assure you.
Very interesting. Well, Osama, or his question actually prompts me to remind everyone who is watching live and the numbers growing. Thank you all for joining us. We will address all of your questions at the end of our program. We've got one sheet of potential additions. We got one sheet of potential departures, and after that, we will go down the list and answer, all your questions. So please put them in the chat. We will go back and not miss one of them. Let's go from one defender to another. In fact, one that's playing right now. Brooke Norton-Cuffy, right wing back for Genoa. Why is he on the list? He's not a free transfer, Frederic.
He isn't, but he's very well regarded by the Juventus management. I think we've been talking about him for some while now. I think
Mhm.
back in October when we had our first episode of the Scoop. So they're following him. The thing is, Genoa, Perin, you all heard the rumors. They are true. Perin wants more playing time. Genoa would be more than happy to get him in their ranks. And they're discussing this with Juventus as we speak. There was another meeting held today, and the distance between Juventus and Genoa for Perin only at this point is 800,000 euros, give or take. So we'll see if we can involve Norton Cuffy in that transfer. Genoa also expressed their desire to maybe acquire Adzic on loan. If that would be with a obligation or an option to buy, I do not know. But since that is also very much intertwined, and the relationship between Genoa and Juventus is very good still,
Mhm.
especially in management terms. We could see something unfold there, but he is one of the people that's on top of Comoli's list and Chiellini's list as well.
Right now, we have him at room temperature, sort of what
Yes.
pending the rapid development of those talks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to get the Perin issue sorted first, and then they can move on to see how they can finalize the agreement in terms of Adzic. I think they already asked Adzic's management if he's up to making the move to Genoa on loan, but I have no reply from my source whether or not
Mhm.
he's feeling that move right now. So it all depends on that, I think.
Can we take a quick sidebar about Genoa and Juventus's potential future sporting director? Frederic, speak for a second. I mean, we've been waiting for a sporting director forever. We've had, the first name in the summer, Tognozzi. There's been several names kind of coming to and from. What the most recent name is, what, Ottolini or something. Uh, uh, uh,
Hmm.
what is the current status of Juventus's next sporting director?
99% sure that it'll be Ottolini. He
Mhm.
hasn't signed yet. The fact that he hasn't signed has nothing to do with Juve not wanting him or difficulties, as I read in the media. It has to do with the book year and the
Yeah,
fiscal and
yeah,
financial things that imply, acquiring new staff or new personnel because it's a new function. It's
yeah.
not a function that's being addressed at this point, and also the fine tuning because it's not like the way we used to be with Paratici or Marotta. It's an whole other hierarchy which they need to outline very, very, very thoroughly. And once that is over and done, I think we should see Ottolini coming in the first week of January already. Gentleman's agreement has been made between both parties, so I don't think that anybody's going to be up for a last minute snag of Ottolini. So I can confirm that he will be, in all likelihood, 99.9% our next sporting director.
Gotcha. Well, let's move down the list. Unholy Fun here in the chat is extremely excited to talk about a name further down on our list. So let's not let him wait too long. We have a string of four straight midfielders, starting with Ruben Neves, who's over there in Al Hilal. His contract expires at the end of the season. Where do we stand on him? And I guess for several of these down the list, whose contract expires in June. Um, can you specify whether we're looking towards a January transfer and or a summer transfer for those individuals?
For Ruben Neves, we are definitely looking at acquiring him at this moment.
Mm,
Why? Because Ruben Neves is sick of Saudi Arabia. His words, not mine. And he asked Mendes to come over and discuss the options. Mendes didn't hesitate. Mendes knows, of course, because he has a good bond and good relationship with Juventus, that Juventus are looking for a midfielder in that specific role. And Neves is, I think, somebody who ticks all the boxes in terms of what we're looking for. Wants to leave Saudi Arabia and is under, the Mendes umbrella, which makes things, realistic for us. But that's something that has to evolve still. I can't see this being decided tomorrow in terms of deadlines. I think Ruben Neves is going to be somebody who's really going to be eager to hear offers from other teams as well.
yeah.
Because and once again, I'm going to quote him: if I come back to Europe, it's going to be on my terms. I'm not sure if he's speaking financially. I think it's more of the challenge or something. I think he overestimated Saudi Arabia in terms of um, I don't know, motivation, let's say.
Well, he
So
raised
if
he
he
raised a lot of eyebrows. I mean, he went there, in his mid-20s,
yeah,
and at a time when most, and this is not, me putting my any personal opinion about the Saudi league. Yeah, I think a lot of, big four, big five league publications really were quite critical of him in his mid 20s making that move when a lot of other players were going, in their 30s.
yeah,
So, I mean, he's sitting here at 28, right? 20. What did my notes say? Yeah, he's 28 right
yeah,
now. So
28,
he's
yeah.
still he's kind of still in his, if not entering his prime. Um, I'd be curious to see, him coming back to Europe, what that might look like. I imagine there'll be a lot of teams that are just going to kind of knock on his door and see what he's thinking, not just Juventus. With that in mind, what temperature are we putting under Ruben Neves right now?
Well, for now, I'd go for room temperature because it's all in, yeah, early stages still. Yeah, but we're there. We've shown our availability. It's up to him.
Mhm.
I think he's made enough money not to go for the top bid this time. So I think he's looking for something with a long-term view, with perspective, and eventually chance on grabbing titles, because that's the reason why he's leaving Saudi Arabia, because he wants to feel that competitive drive and that urge to win trophies. So I
Mhm.
think that's going to be a decisive factor in an eventual transfer.
Let's move to Unholy Fun's favorite player in the world. Uh, and frankly, a name that I was really surprised to see on this list, Guido Rodriguez, 31-year-old midfielder for likely relegation candidate West Ham. This doesn't really strike me necessarily as a Kamoli transfer. Why is he on our list?
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. He was in the list of names that I received from my source. I asked him about some specifics, and he said, yeah, basically ghosted me on that question.
Hmm.
So I think this is just something of I I don't know, an opportunity. I think that maybe we're not looking for him, but maybe his agent offered him to us,
Hmm.
and we took this into consideration due to the fact that we really need to revitalize our midfield. I don't know if he'll get, through the vetting process of him being the one to be that person in that position. So I think this is more of his agent trying to offload him to us, but he's been taken into consideration for some reason. So I
Yeah,
think it
and
was only
he doesn't play for a potential relegation EPL team at 31 years old too. I would be shocked if we picked him up. Needless to say, because of the situation or the information that we have at this time, what temperature have you given him?
I'd leave him at room simply because of the fact that, and I'm gonna be straight here, and I don't know if people will be happy if I am, but I just don't know. I'm not gonna be the one,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
we're
yeah.
not gonna be the ones, for clicks and likes and pull
No.
out some strange name. No, we just don't know. I think he was offered. We'll see where it ends, but the likelihood of him joining at this point to me is not very high. No.
Gotcha. Well, let's go back to some names that we have talked about, and we know maybe a little bit more about, considering at least the next player. They play in Serie A, Bernabe for Parma. We talked about him last time. His contract expires not this summer, but next summer. He is one of their, if not their best player. We would expect this summer he would be sold simply due to the interest in him and him being have only 1 year left on his contract. With our financial position, are we in any way, shape, or form able to maybe scoop him up in January ahead of what I anticipate would be a mini bidding war for him in the summer?
I think so, and I think that's largely because of why we want to, try to get him in right now. Because if you wait until the summer and he keeps on putting these performances in, of course his price will go through the roof, and we'd be unable to compete in that respect. I
Mhm.
don't think that Kamoli is a fan of forking out 60 million for midfielders in Serie A. So I think he wants to scoop him up. See what I did there? A bit early on to avoid any, as you said, bidding wars. But he is the one that's number one on Kamoli's list in terms of midfielders. He is, shall I say it, the chosen one for Kamoli.
I mean, from a transfer fee perspective, other than Frattesi, who we're yet to talk about, he'd probably be the most expensive. A lot of these midfielders we have here are at
Yeah.
the end of their contract. He is the youngest, though, at 24, and obviously having a lot of Serie A experience helps. So this one will be curious to follow. He's a player I like very
Yeah.
much. What
Same.
temperature would you see? What December 29th? What is the temperature or likelihood that Bernabe joins Juventus?
At this point, I'd give him warm simply due to the fact that we're in constant contact with his management, and this is really a name that we're trying to go for. I'm not saying it's going to be attainable because I'm not Juventus's accountant, so I'm not
Mhm.
sure as the pluses and minuses, but I do know that this is a player that's high on the wanted list. And I think if Kamoli sees an opportunity, maybe involve some of the players that are on their way out or they're getting loaned out or whatever, and he can do something there, then I'm sure he'll try to do his utmost to get Bernabe's services in.
Let's move to one more midfielder, one we talked again during last episode, Quentin Timber. Not his brother. That was my mistake on last episode. No, Quentin Timber, midfielder for Feyenoord, contract expiring at the end of this year. You last time during last episode of Scoop, you said he was really interested in Juventus, and his sort of entourage was pushing him to us to consider, and so on and so forth. Where do we stand with him now?
Basically the same. It's a bit of a standstill. That's not a bad thing because we're in contact with his management, thoroughly, and we're still discussing things that can be and should be done. But I think, we spoke about Bernabe, and if you talk about, having the choice between Bernabe and Timber, and if it was up to Kamoli, I think you go for Bernabe. So I see Quentin Timber more as a, shall I say, plan B in that respect. But I don't think that Kamoli. I mean, Kamoli's gonna lowball on him in terms of maybe offer like a loan with an option to buy or things like that.
Who? Which one? Which one? Timber or Bernabe?
Timber and Bernabe, but Bernabe is gonna be a lot more costly.
I mean, the
And
same age, both midfielders, different play style, but it's like
yeah,
Timber would be cheaper, both from a salary perspective, I would imagine, and you would
yeah,
pay no transfer fee or
no.
or or a minimal one if you wanted to
The
try to get him in now, right?
The thing is with Timber, you can't, or it's very difficult to involve players on loan.
Hmm.
If you keep fishing within the Serie A pond, it's a bit more manageable. Also, you get to see the player grow. You can check his progress a lot more easily. So that's the downside on a possible Quentin Timber transfer. But there's also a possibility that we already snag him with a pre-contract, as we're trying to do with Senesi.
Hmm.
So, but I'd put him, just below Bernabe in terms of desirability from our management point of view.
And that's why we have them at room temperature.
Yes.
All right, so we purposefully left the these last two potential additions at the end of the list and coupled them somewhat together. We have first and foremost Tarek Muharemovic and Davide Frattesi. I think many people tuning into this show have been aware of rumors with regards to both. Frattesi almost exclusively with joining Juventus. Muharemovic, not only as a return to Juventus due to the sell-on clause that would make it a cheaper purchase for us, but also a lot of interest from other teams, not only within Serie A, but abroad as well. So, first and foremost, Frederic, what do we stand on these two players? To what extent are they connected? And what's the likelihood that we will see them join Juventus?
Well, for Tariq, it's gonna be slim. I think Juventus don't intend to get him back, just because of the fact that they could cash in on his transfer. Because we have a 50% sell clause as well. There are three EPL teams that are very interested in him, meaning that we could snag up half that transfer sum and spend that money elsewhere. Another option, and that's why Tariq and Fortesi are a bit linked. We could do Inter a favor in terms of letting them buy Muharemovic, which for us would make or give us some leeway in the Frattesi deal, which has not been confirmed by my source. And I asked that specifically because I also read the media, and he said, and I'm going to quote him, I don't think that's a possibility. So I'm not sure, and I don't think that they will try to give Inter the open red carpet in order for Muharemovic to sign for Frattesi. I think that Juventus, if they don't buy for Muharemovic, which I think they will not do, they want to get the most out of this transfer
And
because
that's
there
not
have been
Inter.
offers.
That's EPL, right?
There have been offers already for 30 plus million, meaning that would be at least 15 million in our pockets, which is, always comes in handy in respect to that. So
Mhm.
we'll see how it unfolds, but they're heavily intertwined, and I'll give Muharemovic the cold temperature in terms of him joining us. But I do think that Muharemovic will leave Sassuolo, but it won't be for the Juventus jersey at this point.
It seems though that his likelihood to leave Sassuolo, just in general, is pretty hot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just cold as to him joining or rejoining us.
Yeah, indeed it is. Indeed it is.
All right. So if Muharemovic is cold, that must mean that Frattesi joining Juventus is cold, right, Frederic? Because they're inextricably linked, right?
I'm gonna, do everybody a favor here and say yes, but I have to disappoint everybody and say no, because Frattesi is still the number one target for Juventus at this point. I'm gonna also, I'm gonna try to calm people down because I'm not a fan of Frattesi either. I want to make this very clear, and I really don't like the fact that we'll offload a player that's of no value to Inter and give him money in the deal. But he's on Spalletti's radar.
Yeah.
And after the game at Pisa, there was a little meeting between management and Spalletti. And Spalletti said, look, I want Frattesi, plain and simple.
I
And,
mean, what we have him as hot, right? So clearly Spalletti's request and the operation of Kamoli in our front office does not have Muharemovic and Frattesi linked. And they are proceeding with Frattesi. But hot, we don't really give hots and red hots, Frederic, unless it's
No,
legit, right? And,
sadly,
and so
it's
I'm,
sadly.
I'm picking at my eye here, slightly frustrated. Like I don't think Frattesi's bad. I don't really like the idea of spending money. Like I think you just said, right? Spending on money on a bench player for
Yeah.
Inter, like that's just it's not a
I
win. It's not really a win-win, right? But so I mean,
no.
how would this deal even work with our current financial situation?
I think that Inter is going to be obliged to accept whatever we offer. Maybe not in total transfer fee, but maybe in the modality on how we do it. And I think that if we're going to push through, it's going to be a loan with a obligation. I
I
think
mean,
that's going to be it.
obligation, like a straight obligation, or is like based
Yeah.
on hey us meeting Champions League? Nah, blah, blah, blah.
There are always like
Yeah,
those
yeah, okay, okay,
small
okay.
stipulations, but it's going to be
Appearance,
very
yeah,
minimal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like 10 appearances or whatever. So I think that's the way that Juventus is going to proceed. And I don't see or feel that Inter is in a position to say no to that because Frattesi is not being used at all. He's very unhappy.
Yeah, he's
He wants
unhappy.
to he wants to join Juventus. Juventus want him. And other thing, and that got me going, is that Frattesi to me is not somebody you think that we need at this point. I think we need more of a mezzala regista type of player, but he could be the stand-in for McKennie.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Frederick. It is from a midfielder standpoint, is McKennie an ideal everyday starter? The answer is no. In our current state, is he an everyday starter? Absolutely yes. But in your ideal state, I think he's sort of a rotational piece that you go in to have a change of pace or based on certain matchups. And he's the only midfielder we have that has some goals in him, right? And I think the box to box nature of Frattesi, who has some goals in him, is the exact type of rotational, useful piece that a team could have, which is why I don't mind Frattesi. I just, with him on Inter's books and all that stuff, it's not setting itself up to be an ideal situation for
It
us.
isn't. It isn't. But on the other hand, should McKennie choose to leave, which is his right at this point.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, he's free to do whatever he wants. At least we're not standing there without a backup plan. At least we have that backup plan in sync already, and we could potentially see Frattesi pick up McKennie's role in every way, shape, and form that McKennie's doing now, which would be a good thing. Because if you then have to all of a sudden search for a player that is as capable as McKennie in all those different roles, and is a goal scoring box to box midfielder, then you're either going to overpay or you're not going to find anyone who's willing to join Juventus. So in that
Mhm.
case, it could work out for the best. And the fact that Spalletti, we have to give Spalletti some credit as well, as for him specifically. Um, I mean, that makes me feel less worse. Let me put it like that.
One more. This is not really a potential addition or departure, but it might. This next sort of player we're going to talk about now that we're at the sort of the flip of our slides here could yield us some money. Caio Jorge, remember him? He's been playing the last few years since we sold him in Brazil and doing quite well. We retained a sell-on fee, didn't we, Frederic? What was it? Was it 30?
It was salon fee for 30%
Mm-hmm.
of his transfer, his final transfer to another team, and he's getting bids in left, right, and center. And
Because this is off season. This is off season in
yeah,
Brazil. Yeah,
yeah, it is already. And he's on fire at Cruzeiro. He's doing very well, but Cruzeiro want to, get the jackpot in,
of course.
and they already declined some offers for around 30 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
And they're aiming for 40 at least bare minimum to
Okay.
sit down at the table. So we'll see how that unfolds. I think it was Flamenco who are very anxious on getting him in.
Mm-hmm.
And should that unfold and should the requirements that Cruzeiro give, be it the 40 million euros, that would mean at least on the top of my head 16.3 million euros to us. without breaking a sweat, which then we could spend on Frattesi. Sorry,
Yay.
plot
well,
twist.
well, okay. So we finished the first half, our potential additions. We're about to move over to our potential departures. I do want to thank, again, as always, everyone participating in the chat. Alex, Boston, Masmiv, good to see you. Mohammed, Niket, and several others, Osama, who have been participating throughout. Thank you. If you have any questions on potential rumors or players, put them in the chat. I'm going to go back through after we finish potential departures and fire them at Frederic to do his best to answer. And if we don't have the answer, we will bother his source some more, because we're going to be doing that a lot over the next month.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't already, liked, subscribed for those live on YouTube, we'd definitely appreciate that. That stuff means a lot as we continue to try to grow our channel. All right, I think we can move on. Potential departures.
Yep.
Let's see what's on the list. All righty, we've got 6 names for you here today. Let's start with Odzic. Odzic was a player we talked about last time, where we said there was a lot of noise with regards to a loan without an obligation, just due to his age and how much playing time he's gotten, so on and so forth. Where do we stand on him?
Basically the same. We got a lot more offers in. We're in constant contact with Adzic to see which offer is satisfactory to him. But it's Juventus's plan to loan him out for him in order to evolve, to progress, and to see where we stand if we don't get a funny bid in. And a funny bid for me is 30-40 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would trigger an obligation, and Juventus wouldn't mind doing that for that type of money.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we're gonna go for the straight up loan till the end of the season, maybe even the season, or the season 26-27, depending on how that unfolds. So it could be a loan with an option to loan, but I don't see the obligation or the option to buy as a realistic thing, especially not within Serie A at this point. But I have him marked under hot because I'm pretty confident that he'll leave during this transfer window to get some minutes in.
I think it's almost too obvious, right? To say, hey, Parma, we want Bernabé. We'll give you a generous obligation if you loan him up to us now and we send you Odzic, type of thing. Like that seems too easy almost.
Yep.
Or I think you had mentioned it before that Genoa was interested in, and so this might be something you obviously don't play the same position, but you maybe send Odzic to Genoa with Perrine for a Norton Cuffy deal.
Yeah, and maybe potentially even, because I know that Parma's very keen on having him as well, with a potential Bernabé deal. So all these things, could help us in securing somebody from within Serie A. So in that respect, Adzic is an ace to hold up your sleeve and not just go for the first potential bid that arrives. I think it's very important for us to keep Adzic as that wild card for us in negotiations. And I think Juventus is planning on doing that. Mm-hmm. But at first, we need to find a bid or a team that satisfies Adzic as well, to see where he stands. So it's gonna be a big puzzle in that respect.
Yeah. All right. Miretti, why is he on this list? I know there was a lot of midfielders on the last slide, but we need midfielders. And if we're shipping off Odzic, why would Miretti be gone as well?
Due to the simple fact that we are looking for another more qualitatively player. In the meetings that management and Spalletti had, it was basically concurred that he didn't grow enough as much as we wanted him to grow on his last loan spell at Genoa. And I think a lot of people within Juventus feel that he's reached his limit, his ceiling, and that now is the time for us to, part ways with him and get somebody in who could be better in the now for us. And if you see the previous list, then there are a lot of people who I think are gonna be qualitatively better midfielders than Miretti will be. So
yeah.
One thing is for sure, if he leaves, it's not gonna be on a loan.
Yeah.
Because 3 or 4 offers for a loan, very concrete, solid, and financially good offers, but Juventus are not interested. If they ship him out, they ship him out on a permanent deal.
Yeah, you mean a dry loan, right? I mean, I could
Yeah.
easily see loan with obligation, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of just the nature
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Syria and so forth. When we talk about some of the names on the other list, a lot of midfielders with expiring contracts with upwards of 35, if not 45 million euro in salaries alone, leaving our
Yeah.
books at the end of this season. Bringing in guys on a free. I know that somebody in the chat said Ruben Neves would be really expensive. Fitting him within our wage structure with all of that freed up, I think would be doable, assuming your PSGs and cities don't come in with something ridiculous. All right.
No, and
Sorry.
sorry, but Miretti in that respect is an easy 20 to 25 million euros
Mhm.
in terms of transfers. So, I mean, if you could say get Ruben Neves on a free and spend the money that you get for Miretti into the salary of Ruben Neves for the contract that he has, I'm not sure who would doubt that, in my
Got-
opinion.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk another midfielder, or the third straight on this list, McKennie. And when we talk about McKennie, obviously we know his contract expires, and Dusan is on this list. So the same question for both. With regards to their departure, are you talking now or are you talking in the summer?
Everything goes.
Everything. Okay. All right. Well, let's do McKennie first. Let's do McKennie first, and then kind
Yeah.
of walk us through it.
McKennie was one that we expected to talk about with him with a possible extension, but McKennie made it very clear that he wanted to move back to the States. A lot of offers came in from American clubs, the higher tier clubs, which sparked a bit of an interest in McKennie. But since today, 2 teams out of Saudi Arabia rung the bell for McKennie as well, with very, very appetizing salary fees. Should McKennie wish to pursue that endeavor, then it's obvious to me that we'll try to ship him off in this window, due to the fact that we'll receive still some financial compensation for him. But at this point, I just don't see McKennie signing for Juventus or renegotiating his contract, even though we tried. We did try to.
Unless an offer, I mean, he leaves in 6 months, right? Unless an offer
Mhm.
comes in of like 15 plus, like he's probably more valuable to us staying. Like he plays all the positions, and we have
Yep.
holes in all the positions. Like it would seem. I understand you want to get some money in to plug somebody else in, but other than Norton Cuffy, there's no wingbacks on this list, right? And he's
For
played
now.
everything, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. But he's played everything from a 10 to a Mazzala to left back to right wing back to right winger. It's like I think it would hurt unless we get something notable in FIFA to leave in January.
The thing is, I mean, should you get at this point, or should an offer come in for, let's say, 20 million to make it a round number, and you as Juventus decline, but you want McKennie wants that transfer very bad, then you're stuck with a unmotivated player for another 6 months. I know that McKennie's very professional, but still, it's going to get in your clothes somewhere.
20 million, you agree. 20 million for a player with 6 months
Yeah.
left, you agree. But if
Yeah.
it's 7, if it's
I wouldn't
7,
know. I don't think that Kamoli would either. I think, especially from the Saudi Arabia clubs, I mean, if they could fork over a lot of money in terms of salary, then it wouldn't hurt to, throw us a bone as well. And I think
Yeah.
that's Juventus' strong point right now. We don't have to sell. We're being forced to sell. And if you're forced to sell, you can shoot for the stars price-wise. It's another story when it comes to the summer, because in the summer, of course, it's going to be a whole different ball game. He's going to probably leave on a free, which will leave you with nothing and having a spot to fill.
Well, but
So,
if he leaves on a free after helping us get Champions League and who knows what else in terms of these competitions and position
mhm.
within the Serie A table, then then I tip my hat to him and wish him well. Like
Yeah,
that's not
of
money
course.
lost in my opinion because he
No,
helped us get
no.
to reach our sporting goals, which are directly tied to our financial goals,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
true. And
Um,
also I like McKennie a lot, but if you can, how can I put this? If you can bid farewell to him and you can give him the chance to move back to the States because he really misses that, then I'm comforted, let's say that. But if he wants to move just to get a bigger salary somewhere, then then Juventus need to gain something on a financial standpoint as well. So
but that's sort of been
I
his
think this,
position, right? Like that's why he's denied our extensions is because he's
yeah,
asking for a lot of money.
he's
And
still
and and,
the
and the
le-
way MLS rules, and I don't know that we have a very international audience. I mean, the way MLS is there's a very strict salary cap for the majority of players within the MLS, except
yeah,
for what's called designated players, and you're only allowed what I think 3 of them per
yeah,
team. And so it's like most teams have designated player spots filled up. So someone would have to leave another club, then they'd bring them in to be one of 3 players that get this bonus or elevated salary situation. So
yeah,
it's like it's really complex over here, unnecessarily so, as far as I'm concerned. But like he would need to have that window. Otherwise, he's maxed out at something far below what he's
yeah.
earning now.
Also, the thing is, I'm not sure if my source is correct on that, but because McKennie spent this much time in EU, he basically has what you have like virtual EU citizenship. Meaning also, if he gets back to the States, that he, for a certain amount of time, won't have to pay or very little taxes because he's seen as a employee that comes from our EU to America. So tax-wise, that would be very beneficial to him, as my source stated. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm in no means.
That doesn't
Uh,
s- that doesn't sound like that might still be the case.
okay.
Especially when you think of, and not to get into politics, the current sort of EU-US jockeying that's going on from a
Hmm.
geopolitical situation. I will say that regardless, just as a matter of fact, taxes, certainly for someone earning as much money as he'd be earning, whether he's a designated player or at the top of the salary cap, taxes in America, especially depending on the state, like if he comes to back to Texas, much, 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 much cheaper.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
another positive thing for him,
Yeah.
I think.
So, all right. We talked a lot about McKennie. What temperature do we have that he leaves?
Well, I have him at room temperature for now because there are too many variables, too many question marks regarding that transfer. We'll see how it picks up, but I'm sure that offers will come in, and it's up to us and McKennie to see what we're going to do about them and how we're going to respond.
Hmm.
But I think, McKennie for us, whether it be 6 months or 6 days, is pretty much over with.
Yeah, we actually elevated him right before the show to warm, right,
Yeah,
Frederick? Because whether it's
yeah, I'm
now, whether
sorry.
it's now or
Yeah,
in June, it's more
yeah, that
likely
was
than
my
not
point.
that
Yeah,
he leaves. Um, Osama correctly points out, as I sort of inferred, that depending on the state you move in, and let's be clear, there's also Canadian teams in MLS, so the tax structure differs wildly. For instance, California taxes are quite high, Texas taxes are quite low.
how are
Um,
the ones in Miami? The Florida ones?
Florida taxes are pretty generous as well, so they're not bad. But Miami doesn't have designated player spots. Those ones are pretty much locked up by Messi and his friends. But like FC Dallas, Austin here in Texas, I mean, there's no state income tax at all in Texas. Um,
Ooh,
so it's like that's while I think in Florida or California, it's something like 17.5% state income tax. I mean, that's a big swing when you make millions of dollars. I
and
mean,
at
that's enough.
least 50.
That's what I'm saying is the tax difference is much, much, much less in America. All right, so enough about McKennie, geopolitics. and U.S. tax law. Let's talk about Mattia Perin. You kind of mentioned him before. You spoke almost as if the Genoa transfer is a foregone conclusion. Is that how you see it, or what are the nuances there?
I see the Perin transfer as warm in the sense that Genoa really want him, and Perin really wants to get some playing time. I'd even put him at hot or red hot. So in terms of our um, scale of, I see him leave straight away. The difference between demand and asking price is 800,000 at this point,
Mhm.
which is a lot for Genoa, but not worth blowing a transfer over. So I think it's going to be a done deal very soon. Also, the fact, I mean, we mentioned this when we saw the announcement video of Spalletti. Spalletti doesn't think of him in high regard.
Well, he doesn't
Uh,
play either, so he doesn't play. Like, I mean, you don't have to look at the video. You can look at playing time, right? Mattia
yeah,
has not
yeah,
played a lot of games. Any competitor wants to play. I think my only question is on the previous slide we had no goalkeepers, right? I mean,
no, we don't.
if we move Perin, we're gonna need no no offense to Pinso, right? But you need a
No, no, no,
legitimate alternate keeper, especially one, and you and I both talked about it, one that would challenge Di Gregorio for a potential
yeah,
starting spot, right? I mean, that's not a backup keeper. That's not some random 35-year-old dude to ride the bench. You want
no,
somebody to come in and actually push Di Gregorio.
yeah. And we talked about that in the summer as well, and that's why I texted my source about this as well. But there was a really realistic chance of Perin moving in the summer already. Um, and we did our homework in terms of keepers. I have no names thus far. I asked, but I was ghosted once again. My apologies. But the only answer that I got is we have done our homework on goalkeepers since July already. So
And we had some
that,
goalkeepers. We had some goalkeepers on our summer,
yeah,
our summer, and their names are escaping right now. But we had some goalkeepers on our summer scoop. So I know
yeah,
that they definitely were not just rando. Some of them were some backup options, but some of them were legitimate potential starters or
yeah.
competitors with Tigre. All right, let's no need to belabor that point. Dusan Vlahovic, he's injured. Why is he on
He's
this list?
injured. He's on this list because a lot of teams want to, not get into the salary bidding war in the summer. So there have been some talks. We mentioned Milan in the past, but we dodged that bullet because their bid was fairly low. But Dusan has been in talks with Barcelona, and Barcelona see him as the perfect Lewandowski replacement. I'm not sure if they are for real.
Yeah, are they trolling?
I think not. I think not because there have been two meetings with Barcelona representatives already, and they went very well. And if Barcelona is very keen on to avoid that bidding war in the summer, who knows? Who knows? The only thing I can say is Dusan's management, and I talked about this I think in the summer already, and
Hmm.
Kamoli
They don't like each
just
other.
don't get along. They will never get along. Dusan will leave. There's a possibility that he leaves already or signs already for another team soonish. We'll see how it plays out, but I can pretty much say that state that he's not going to be a part of our team come July.
Fair enough. I'm happy to move on. Last name on our list. Why is Yildiz a potential departure, Frederic?
Yildiz isn't a potential departure, and that's
Oh,
why I
thank
put him
you.
in the list
Thank you.
as ice cold. Because there were a lot of rumors, a lot of so-called official bids from teams or meetings, and I don't know what I read on Twitter and Reddit and what have you. It was just soap opera worthy. Every offer, every interest, every even the mention of the name Yildiz from other teams pointed towards Juventus were met with, r- r- just somebody hanging up the phone on the other end. There's no way, shape, or form. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, because somebody else attacked me on Reddit and said, "Oh, you're out of your mind. If they offer what was 120 million for Yildiz, Komoli will bring him personally." He's not going to. Not for 120, maybe not even for 140. The plan is to build a team around him. The plan is to break open his contract. And we're very much working on that. And I expect the green light to happen in January due to the new book year and all these things financially. And I'd even go as far as saying that they will potentially give Yildiz the 6.5 million net he's been asking, and not just the I don't know what they mentioned in the media, that they were going to meet each other halfway and he's going to get a bump and this and that. They're going to even the plan is to prolong his contract till 2032.
I mean, I know you and I have disagreed to some extent about whether he should be renewed. I think it's a no-brainer. I would love it. What potential timeline do you have an indication on the potential timeline as to when this might happen? I know you had said previously that, going back to Adelini's book year stuff, right? So,
Mhm.
we're 2 days away, right? So, what do you have any picture of a timeline with regards to when this renewal may or
That-
may not happen?
it's difficult to put into concrete terms, because I know that both parties are in constant communication and there's no hiccup in the negotiation process or whatever, but both parties are well aware of the fact that there's no immediate rush for it to happen. But I think if Juventus um, put their money where their mouth is, and they're slowly turning towards that point, and offer yield the 6 or the 6.2 net, then I think it should be a done deal within the month of January.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this brings us to the end of our sort of our scripted list of names. Took us a little bit longer than normal, Frederic. We kind of got we kind of went off on tangents today, but we'll still do our best despite the amount of time we spent on this to get through all of your questions, y'all. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in throughout this whole time, who's joined
Thank you
us
so
throughout.
much.
Obviously, I've shouted out several of you. I think there's been a few other people who've popped in, and I'm sorry, Joey has popped in and made some comments. Thank you. I think that's the only new name. Brian as well. Thank you all for joining, commenting. Put your questions about potential transfers in the chat. I'm going to go through them now. We'll kind of go through the list there and discuss any of those, and then we'll end it for today. The first, I'm kind of actually going from the bottom up. Unholy Fun asked about Christos Mondas as a potential backup keeper. He's at Lazio, if I'm not mistaken, right now. Have you heard any? I mean, you said you're not really sure of any names right now. Any awareness of Mondas as a potential backup option for you today?
We have a lot of backup options, especially within Serie A, and it wouldn't surprise me if Mondos was one of them. But of course, media puts one and one together because there is a so-called bid for Lazio for Miretti. So maybe that they
Yeah.
say, oh, but Lazio want Miretti, so it could be a done deal because Juve want Mandas. I'm not sure what they're looking at, what the criteria are, but I know for a fact that they wouldn't just ship off Perrin or entertain offers without having fairly soon a good backup keeper there. So I'm pretty confident in the fact that we have several options, and I think it may be Ottolini's first call to choose one of the options we have available in accordance with Comoli, of course.
Scrolling back up, we got Adam asks about Antonio Rudiger. His contract expires at the end of the year. 32-year-old defender. I think everybody who's aware of football around the globe knows his name. Is there any smoke or fire with regards to a potential Rudiger joining?
Nope, no, nothing, nada, zero. The short answer.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about Rudiger versus Sergio Ramos, who we were talking about a few episodes ago, which gave me an absolute hernia. Yeah, I think I'd be more interested in Rudiger. Um,
Yeah, yeah, but for some reason, I don't know. The thing is with transfer, it has to come from both sides, and
yeah,
either one of the parties initiates the dance with some sort of information that's being requested, or management that's elbowing the team saying, hey, my guy would like to play for you guys, but this has not happened. So, and I think with these types of transfers, especially with the transfer free ones, you have to act very fast even before the contract ends, and you have to be in advanced talks already in order to have a shot at a potential transfer. And there's been nothing thus far, so it would surprise me a lot if it should happen still.
scrolling down, Joey says that Miami does have a designated spot open because Busquets has or is retiring. Um, did not know that. Quick look says that, yeah, they only do have two designated players, only two Americans as well. 90% of Inter Miami is from Argentina. I think odds are um, that designated spot would probably be filled as well by one, though. I imagine any MLS team getting McKennie would see a nice marketing boost to have one of their premier international players return home.
Yeah, yeah.
Alex, I'm going to kind of infer a question here from Alex. Alex wants to know, Frederic, how badly? What is the temperature? Or how badly does Frederic want to see Di Gregorio on the potential departures list?
I actually don't. I just want to see him on the bench. I think Di Gregorio is a good. No, I think he's a good Perrin. He'd be a good Perrin, but he's not the kind of keeper you want to see start every game. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, and I don't count for anything, not even in my own household. So this is just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for me, and to put it in a realistic backlighting, I think if an offer would arrive, a decent one north of 25 million, I think Juventus would entertain that offer. But if you're on the realistic side, that's not going to happen. So
Probably not.
no.
Moving on the list, Mohammed asks, what about the rumors about Juventus looking for a striker on loan?
You need to play the backdrop. The Freddie.
Hey. Look, can I be honest with everybody watching today? Watching, okay, it's just between Frederic, myself, and those watching live. Frederic hates the drop, guys. He does.
Oh,
He
I
hates.
hate
He
it with a
freaking
passion.
hates. He hates
With a
it.
passion.
We only play it. I mean, I love it, but we only play it for y'all because I know you guys do. He freaking hates it. If if he wants it to be played, this must be some juice. So here we go.
Yeah.
And now, Freddy Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
Alrighty.
Juventus are looking for a striker.
That Milik is going to save the day. Is that
Who?
that the news?
Who? Never heard of the guy.
All right. Yeah. No, hit us with. Sorry, I interrupted you. Hit us with it.
No, it's okay. Juventus want a striker, especially next season, because they're very aware of the fact that Vlahovic will leave, and numerically, he needs to be subbed or replaced. Ideally, they would like a striker that gets time to, fit into Juventus. So the ideal scenario would be if we find a striker now on loan with a option or obligation to buy in the summer. That would be ideal. The sad part about the story is that there are not a lot of those available, but we are looking for a striker. And if we can pick up the pace and anticipate a striker move already in January for the summer, then we won't hesitate. I think my personal opinion is that they're gonna get some sort of pre-contract with a striker, sign him on July 1st with the whole financial fair play thing. Because if Dusan leaves, and he will leave July, then you'll have a lot of money that becomes available.
I mean, from
So
just his
I'm
salary
not sure.
alone. It's just
Yeah, just terrible.
obnoxious.
And he's not the only one.
Yeah.
I've made some calculations. We're looking at up north of 140 million euros that'll
Kostic,
be of a
Kostic, Rugani, McKennie, um, obviously Dusan. Those just jump to mind. I know I'm forgetting something, but from a wage standpoint, that's 35 mil right there, euro.
yeah,
When you
yeah.
talk about, and we're about to talk about Douglas Luiz because Ivan has a question. But if all of the fees are executed, that's 75 million euro too. So you have 75 million from a transfer fee coming in. You've got 35 million coming in from minimum, coming in from wages leaving the books. That's over 100 million net that we can play with. Before we go on, Adam. No, no, sorry. Adam had another note that Rugani did renew, but Mohammed, we'll do first too because I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Do you have any names for that striker, or who they might be looking at that they might be able to sign that pre-contract with, or who they might want to look to bring in? And I'm adding my own second part to that question: is what does that mean for Openda's loan? Because he's getting playing time to trigger that, and David. So there's a two-parter for you.
I'm not gonna because I'm still looking into some things, and some things are very hard to how shall I put it, be confirmed by my source. So I'm gonna go with a small. It's not a rumor, but it's not confirmed either. Word around the campfire is that there are other clauses involving Openda's contract. Meaning that if we shouldn't sign him, and this is just, it's not confirmed, but I'm just putting it out there for the people asking. If we shouldn't sign him, then we would get a penalty of 8.5 million euros, I think, and no player. So the question that comes to mind at this point is, what are we going to do? Pay the penalty and search for another striker? I don't know what's
Or
going to
pay
happen.
40 something million for a striker in this hypothetical. I'm not saying this is as a matter of fact.
No.
Pay 40 something million euro for a striker that you don't want. You take the penalty. You don't swallow 43 or whatever the price is million for it. So I think that's curious. I guess needless to say, to answer Mohammed, we will. Look, just to give you a picture of my text messages, waking up, because Frederick's in Europe, I'm in the United States, waking up to like 40 billion texts from Frederic because he's relaying things from his source, and he translates them for me too. So, I mean, we're working the phones here. We'll keep you posted. Obviously, that thing does end up happening in January. Then we'll let you know. C. Kov has made his claim that is guaranteed. Mario Balotelli. I'm not sure if that would be the name, but always love a Balotelli inclusion into transfer rumors. I noted that Adam corrected me. He's about Rugani. He is correct. Rugani to extend his contract and expires at the end of 2028. Just a quick review of contracts expiring at the end of this year. Aforementioned Openda, if his loan is not extended. Vlahovic, McKennie, Kostic, Pinso. Next year, we have only two players, Artur and Milik. And if Perrin leaves, it doesn't leave, it would be him as well. But we got Artur and Milik. Yes, Artur is still on our books. His contract expires next year, and then 2028 amongst a lot of players, one of whom is Rugani. Needless to say, the numbers still are roughly 100+ million euro that free up from obligations as well as salary being freed up. I mentioned a player, Douglas Luiz. That's who it was. Douglas Luiz.
Yep.
The question was, and let me go find it specifically. So I even asked about David Luiz. I believe that's meant Douglas Luiz. Let's give us some clarification. I think we talked about this last time. Just what exactly is the obligation with regards to him? Because he doesn't have a lot of appearances.
No,
like 9 appearances or something.
I'm gonna check for you now because I'm so well prepared that I had it in my text messages. Douglas Luiz needs 7 more appearances.
Of 45 minutes or more, right?
Yes.
So we're almost halfway through the season. He has more than 7 appearances, barely.
Yeah.
If my
Yeah.
memory serves, barely.
I think 9 or 9 or
Yeah,
10.
I think he has roughly
something.
9 or something. I didn't check over the last couple of weeks because I was on vacation, so I don't know if he played. I think, but it's looking more likely than not that he hits the threshold
The thing is,
as of right now.
he's been injury prone ever since he arrived at Juventus, and he's still injury prone over in the UK. So that's a big shadow above his transfer. And I think that West Ham are doing their part by being a bit cautious and seeing if he can play for a certain a period of time without any injuries. Then I think they'll trigger the clause. But I don't think they'll be foolish enough to say, "Oh, he's limping, but it'll be all right. Let's start him," because they know about the reciprocation, the I'm sorry, it's
The
late here.
obligation.
The obligation that is going to be triggered during by at Nottingham. Sorry, during those performances or during those spells. So Juventus is not happy because they're really counting on that transfer fee, and Juventus have already made it very clear to his manager that even if Nottingham don't trigger that obligation, that Douglas Luiz is not regarded as a Juventus player.
Yeah, I think the problem for them is like the conditions aren't aligning for them. I don't think to actually make the purchase. I mean, they're sitting barely above the relegation zone. I mean, they're what 17th, 5 points clear. Still a lot of season to go. I mean, he did start the other day for them, but it's just like you don't want to saddle yourself with a $26 million purchase if you're going to get relegated.
Yeah.
Which and I don't know if that's if relegation voids the obligation. I don't know if
No.
that's built into the
No.
contract. It's not. Okay, good.
No.
Good.
No, and also because I saw somebody, there were some discussions, FA Cup and things like that. Also,
They all count.
they all count. So it's not just Premier League. I think it's even if he plays with the second team, that's even considered an appearance officially,
Hmm.
which is not the case for Nico.
Well, Nico, and I haven't checked his appearances lately. So
He needs 10 appearances more.
10 more. So just to be clear, Douglas Luiz has 10 appearances across all competitions with Forest. Let's look Nico.
Yep.
Let's look at. I mean, nobody asked about him, but let's look at Nico Gonzalez. I mean, he's been playing. I know, and if at times when I've checked in the past, he was playing well.
Yeah. Nico for me is a done deal because
I thought so as well.
they want him really bad. They are very. How shall I put it? They're just happy with his presence and the way he's performing, his mentality, his professionalism. But the same question with
He's 21 appearances. Like
he's
dude's
21.
playing every game.
Yeah, but he's now injured for for some time, which is always the case with Nico Gonzalez. Every season he gets injured, whether shortly or for a long term. So, and Simeone is a real fan. So, I can't see that, going or ending poorly. With Douglas Luiz, no. I see a question from Joey in the chat. Does an appearance have to be a certain amount of time for Luiz? Yes, it does. Luiz has to play 45 minutes as a minimum to count as an appearance. Whereas with Nico Gonzalez, if he plays, then it counts as an appearance.
And he has a lot of appearances. Let's say hi to a few people who've joined. Del Piero, frequent participant on our shows. Welcome. I see you've joined. Zero Delays has joined us as well. Thank you all for your questions. Let me scroll back up. Did I miss something?
I think you did, but I'm not keeping tabs. There was a Gatti
Oh yes,
question
yeah.
somewhere.
Alliance, and I forgot to mention Alliance. Alliance has popped in throughout this show, and I forgot. I don't think I shouted him out, or her. I'm not sure. Alliance. Question: Gotti to Milan or Gotti to Bournemouth? Which one is more likely?
Anywhere but Milan at this point. Allegri wants him really bad. But
So you mean wait? Why you said anywhere but Milan? Why?
mhm.
'Cause that means that we're not sending him to Milan, but Allegri wants him. Clear
Yeah,
that up first.
yeah, because Juventus were a bit offended by the way that Milan handled the communication regarding the potential player switch between Gatti and I forgot the name.
Tomori?
Nope,
Oh.
was an Italian player. I
Well,
forgot.
whoever it
Was a
was. Yeah.
promising Italian player, and Juventus were pretty much up for it, or it was something that. And then when they wanted to sit around the table, Milan said, "Ah, no, Ricci. Thank you, Adam. It was Ricci indeed. Thanks, Thomas and Alex and Alliance and everybody was responding with Ricci, but it was Ricci." And then Milan said,
Everyone came out of the woodworks to be like,
"Yeah,
"Hurry,
everyone's. It was
come
a
on,
test
dude."
for me to see if the people were still awake." But yeah, and you were a bit offended by that because they were really, want to move forward with the Ricci Gatti swap. And then all of a sudden Milan said, "Oh no, but we have this or that player or whatever." And Juventus were like, "No, that's not gonna happen." And then Juventus said, "If you want him, this is the cost." I'm not sure about the cost of Gatti, but they mentioned a number, and Milan said, "Ah, we can't afford that." And that was that. So I'm not gonna say that they are not gonna catapult back with another offer or whatever. But at this point, at this time, I can't see Gatti ending up at Milan.
Gotcha. Hey, well, I get to say hi to a couple more people who came out of the woodwork to tell you how wrong you were, Thomas.
Always fun.
Thomas, welcome, and then it's everyone else who's been joining us. Thank you very much. Question from Jurgen, who I don't think we've heard from yet. Who always has good questions during our scoop episodes. He's unhappy with Camoli. How in the world did he end up at Juventus?
Because of Alcon. It's as simple as that. Alcon thought that he was the one of the most futuristic persons in football to apply that sort of moneyball tactic and look past relationships with managers with several clubs or whatever and just look at it from a statistic point of view, which in my opinion is a very plausible way of approaching that. But I have to agree with Jurgen because you and Isaac were very confident about Kamoli. But if you look at his track record now, and I'm not judging him because we said that we'll judge him after the summer transfer window, if I'm not mistaken. But up until now, it hasn't been the best marriage that we have seen in football terms. So I'm just hoping for the Kamoli revenge arc that will unfold in true Marvel cinematic experience. I'm hoping for that, to be honest. We'll see how it goes, but it was an Alcon name and a structure that Alcon thought out with a number of people with an XOR that they wanted to apply, and Kamoli was the person that was checked the boxes back then. That's not to say that he's safe. He will be evaluated by Alcon and the board of directors. So I'm not saying that he's here to stay in long term, but we'll see how that unfolds. The last news that I have is that Alcon is not so happy about him dodging responsibility in terms of media appearances.
He has not been very. I would like to see more transparency. I will say. Well, let me put it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and Alcon shares that same thought, and he was reprimanded on that as well. So maybe with the arrival of our imminent sporting director, maybe that'll change as well. So we'll see what happens, but we have to give him the benefit of the doubt at least until after the summer transfer market finishes, I think.
I agree with that as well. He really was. He walked into kind of a poor situation. Like, here, welcome to
Understatement of the year.
Juventus. You have to find a way to offload Vlahovic. Impossible task, while rejuvenating a thin, underperforming squad without any money, and rebuild our management structure. Do it all
Yeah.
immediately. Like that's. I mean, that's
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
He's probably paid well to be a guy to make those solutions at a club of the stature of Juventus. I get it, but let's be clear. Let's be clear. That is a ridiculously hard task.
Yeah, there is one thing I want to, and just to show Alcon, for me, I'm not a fan nor a hater of Alcon, but Alcon is known to be pretty petty in terms of business. Not interrelational management, but in terms of business, Alcon is a bit petty. And my source texted me with a funny story. Alcon 2 or 3 years ago tried to purchase the entire Prada group with his holdings. And there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of speculation. Didn't happen, didn't end well, not on the friendliest of notes. And when McKennie was awarded Player of the Month, I think it was 2 games ago at our home game, Ferrero was present, as was Comoli on the pitch, even with McKennie. And our good friend Comoli was sporting a Prada jacket. And Alcon was not amused. So it just goes to show the situation at current within Juventus. I thought it was a funny anecdote. I'm sure there are a lot of more of these that unfold, but I just wanted to get that out there.
It turns out that we went on this diatribe about Comoli. Jurgen was actually asking about Giuntoli, which I think we've actually gone very much on record about sort of the Giuntoli situation. So you're going to interest of time. I don't know if we're going to just address it here. I think similarly to the appointment of Comoli, if I was to condense our previous answers on the Giuntoli issue into sort of a quick statement, it was Giuntoli was the hot name on the market as Alcon looked to establish a new management structure that would lead to long-term success. Giuntoli was unequivocally the name everybody wanted. That obviously backfired, which is why he's now going in a completely different direction with Comoli and a more robust management structure that we see today. For Del Piero, with regard to Jimenez, just verify which one. There's a zillion Jimenez's out there, and I don't want to make the mistake I made last episode and pick the wrong player. So apologies.
I think he's referring to the Milan forward, ex-Feyenoord.
Well, yeah, please verify for us.
Yeah.
I will say real quickly about revenge arcs, Frederic, is you've been very much on a warpath, because I believe in our Black and White series, I'm 2-0. So we are waiting for the Frederic revenge arc in terms of Black and White. And one of the episodes, for those who haven't tuned in, was about Alcon himself. So we'll see. This week, I guess we will be releasing another It's Black and White series, this time talking about Cambiasso, where we argue whether Cambiasso must go or whether he should stay. And so we'll see if the Frederic revenge arc.
That's my Avengers Endgame moment right there. I'm taking the crown now. That's my revenge arc beginning with the Cambiasso dispute, I feel. But we'll leave it up to the viewers as always. And if you have any other topics or subjects that you want us to fight over virtually, be sure to leave your comments or DM us or whatever you want, and we'll do our best to, with the busy schedules that we have, to plug it in somewhere somehow. So thank you for those subjects as well, because I think the Cambiasso was a question from some of the viewers.
Yes, it was specifically.
So very happy that we can discuss Cambiasso. So we'll keep you posted. Del Piero asked another question. I see the interest to get back Muharemovic. I think we talked about that. But the buyback clause also counts for us. So if we want to buy him back, we also get that 50%, which is logical because we're not going to pay ourselves. I think that's a
No,
bit.
no, it translates to a 50% discount, right? So you would
Yeah.
buy him for his market value, we'll say 20 mil, but we would only pay 10.
The thing is, it's going to be difficult to do that because you value him at maybe 15, and you can, you're entitled to half of him.
Mhm.
So Sassuolo also gets to say and say, but no, we have a Bournemouth offer. I'm just saying something worth 35, and we value him 45. So what's the middle ground here? So it'll always be in your worst interest, I think. I
Yeah.
think it's very difficult to negotiate that set fee or value of a player when you both own him,
Yeah.
especially if you want to get him back.
Yeah. I mean, technically, we don't own him. We just have a buy. We have a buy,
Yeah,
or a sell on. So we don't own him. And I think for Del Piero, with regards to Muharemovic, I hate doing this, but please refer back to our earlier discussion. He was one of the names on our list that we talked about for quite some time earlier this episode. Del Piero also clarifies Santiago Jimenez. Yes, you're right. Milan forward. Mexican national, formerly a Feyenoord. Any noise there with regards to Juventus?
he's been offered as he was as well in the summer with the whole Vlahovic soap series, and we didn't bite back then. So I'm wondering why we should bite right now, because he's the quote miners of Milan in terms of
Yeah.
his performances, and I'm not quite sure that that's the player you want to fill in Vlahovic boots, albeit they're not as big as boots as you think they should be. But I'm not sure if it's going to be a match in that regard. No.
Gotcha. Well, I'm doing my last. Oh, so hey, this is a real deep cut. Unholy fan asks about, and I'm probably going to mispronounce the name because my Hungarian is not particularly very good. In fact, it's non-existent. But he asks about 20-year-old Hungarian international Alex Toth. Is it you said Tot? Is that how you say it? But
I have no idea.
okay, good. So I'm going to go with.
I just think of Totti and
egregious-
just leave out the
you're-
I.
I'm going to do the egregious American pronunciation, Alex Toth. But he plays for, and this is another pronunciation attempt. Let me know how I do. But he plays in Hungary at Ferencvárosi.
Ferencváros. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here because it's just I'm limited in my pronunciation. Young international player. I think these are the types, and we get this type of question every episode. There's young players, whether it be in Eastern Europe or in the Balkans, where there's limited growth within the domestic leagues. Is Juventus going to look at those that we've had in the past? Croatian players and so on and so forth. Anything, and we're just going to expand the question, whether it be Alex Toth, pronunciation, please forgive me, or any other young players kind of from Central Eastern or Eastern Europe or the Balkans that we might try to scoop up a la our Odzic deal.
There are a lot of them for the moment. I don't have any specific names. I know Toth is being monitored closely, as are a lot of other young players, especially players from Spain and France, given the link between Comoli and France. Excuse me. But also from within Italy, where we're very proactive in that, but we want to make sure that we do our due diligence and we get somebody that's going to be really somebody who uplifts the team in terms of quality. And gets chances as well, because it would make no sense for us to get, let me say, a good center back who doesn't get minutes because you have a beast of Bremer playing every game if fit. So it's a bit of juggling your needs, your wants, and your financial books, because even it's not only linked to finances, it's also to player development, swap deals, loan deals. These are all included in this financial fair play plethora, which is such a puzzle to unravel for a lot of people, especially from without Juventus or any other football club. So priorities are priorities. We need to strengthen the team. We're looking to do that, and we'll take it from there. But I think if you have more time and a clear view of what you're going to do next season in terms of are we going to enter Champions League, yes or no, next season,
Mhm.
what do we have available, what's our balance, and where can we proactively improve ourselves, then I'm pretty sure that we'll get to those types of players. But for now, and I tend to agree with Kamoli, they're not a priority. The priority now is to make the first team or the starting 11 better and competitive to land as best we can at the end of May. So
We're going to, in the interest of time, and this is a longer episode, folks, so thank you for sticking with us. I think we're going to do 3 more questions. So we got Osama's question, we got OLBBE question, and we're going to finish with Jurgen's question, which is sort of a broader transfer rumor related question, and then we'll call it a day, folks.
yeah.
Osama asks, any young players from League One? And we'll just say, like, we have, even over the summer, had sort of the players from League One sort of sprinkle into our scoop episodes, and then they disappear almost as quickly as they join.
Yeah.
For obviously Kamoli's connections there. We've talked about what Restos, Guillermo, the goalkeeper. We talked a lot of people. Where do we stand on players from League One?
We're the difference between Juventus 2 years ago and now is that we're monitoring a lot of people. We have an incredible short list.
Your short list of
which
100 players. Yes.
yeah. But we're closely monitoring them, not just in League A, also in the Dutch league, the Belgian league, Norwegian league, second Bundesliga as well. So we're keeping our eyes open. But for me personally, the feeling that I have right now is that Kamoli is not confident enough to pull out a Kamoli-esque name because he's not on the best terms right now with media in Italy and the whole fan base due to the things that he pretty much fumbled in the past. So I think he wants to get a bit more confidence, get more surefire players in, and then maybe work up the Kamoli ladder. But we are monitoring a lot of people, and it's not because you don't hear these names pop up or whatever. We are very active, even scouting wise. Night and day difference. I think our scouting personnel has risen by 300% since Kamoli's arrival, and not just by visiting him in real life, but constantly looking at videotapes and analysis and whatever. So we're betting heavy on that, but it needs some time, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Also in Italy, where we're looking a lot in Italy. So I'm not sure as to why we haven't, but it needs to be a marriage between 2 or 3 parties at times, and that's not always the easiest of things when you have a team that is lacking a bit of glamour in terms of prestige that we had, and the fact that we are unable to give more than we planned for due to financial fair play. So these are all things that undermine our negotiation strategy a bit. So yeah.
Next question was with regards to Bernardo Silva. Now, for folks new to the scoop, we claim first rights as to the Bernardo Silva rumors. We dropped back in June, where we started sort of setting up for that free transfer. We're now coming up on January, where we would be able to sign a Bernardo Silva on a pre-contract. Frederic, he wasn't on our list today. What's up?
It's still the same. We're in constant contact with him. It's not a yes, it's not a no. We're looking at his availability. it is my understanding that he's open to Juventus, but he has some doubts in terms of the strength of the team in the future. And Comoli's not a person to give out guarantees when he's not able to. So I think for Comoli, it's a bit, it's a bit of a bet as well, because it's hard to, get Bernardo Silva in, promise him the world in terms of quality players and depth of the squad, but you're not sure that you can do that straight away,
Mhm.
because a lot is riding on that qualification of Champions League, as I said numerous times. So it's a double-edged sword in that respect. But we will try our best to get Bernardo Silva in. We will. I think we speak to his management about at least once a week. So I think that, says enough about our interest in him. But, at the end of the day, the choice is his. And if we have to compete salary-wise with other teams, then I'm afraid that we're going to have to disappoint Bernardo Silva and a lot of Juventus fans. But that's just the way how it works. If he's interested and he wants to come because of the project, the planning, the people that will surround him, and the long-term view we have for Juventus, then I welcome him with open arms. If he chooses to, just hold out sort of a raffle and see who offers more in terms of salary, then I think we're up for a disillusion.
Real quick, I'll sort of answer this one. Alliance asks in Italian, there's a lot of good players in Italy. Why not look in Italy? Obviously, very publicly, or it was made very, very aware to everybody in the summer. We brought in no players from Italy. Um, if I remember correctly from our potential additions, half of that list were Serie A players. If I'm not mistaken, only one of them was Italian, being Frattesi. So, at least if you're talking about Alliance, the country, and Serie A and the league, the behavior over the summer of looking externally is somewhat changed. If you're talking about Italian players, I think there's a debate to be had of whether there are a lot of talented Italians. Right now, I think a lot of people are looking at the struggles of the national team and saying they're not. So that might be something, Frederic, that we look at and do we discuss in the future, potentially in one of our black and white episodes. But let's
Yeah.
go to go ahead, and then we'll go to our last question.
No, I just wanted to add that, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say if Milan comes knocking for a player, no matter the role, the age, or the team, they get a market value plus 20% because it's Milan. If we do that, it's market value plus 50, 60% for some reason. And I think that's something that rubs Comoli the wrong way. And that's why he deliberately choose not to deal with Serie A teams in the
For
summer.
some reason, you know what the reason is, because we have a history of ridiculously overpaying for players. Look at every single deal we've done with Fiorentina.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something.
obvious.
Yeah, and that's something he doesn't want to entertain anymore, and he wants to send out a clear message saying, "We'll pay the money that's needed for a player, regardless, but we don't want to be, get strung on for a ride and overpay more than double market value just because we have the money or we're named Juventus." And I think that's a valid statement in this point in time, because if you don't draw a line in the sand now, then when will you?
Yeah. Let's go to our last question. As promised, this is a long episode. Frederic and I, we as y'all have probably figured out by now, we're talkers. So episodes dragged on. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. Jurgen asks, and this is sort of a broader transfer question. I want you to get into this a little bit, Frederic, because you're part of, I guess, the problem, so to speak. Jurgen asks, why are there constant rumors surrounding players Juventus wants to buy? Why can't they keep it hidden and just we find out on transfer day?
I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of names that we haven't discussed or aren't privy to or unaware of, as it was in the past. But I still think media-wise that the media just know that Juventus, even though we have poor financial form at this point, are still capable of pulling numerous rabbits out of our hat in terms of financial freedom. So I think it's normal that the media wants to shine a spotlight onto Juventus for that reason. And also because of the fact that we're lacking in squad depth. So it's easy when you see a midfielder that's being entertained with offers left and right, and pull Juventus and that string of teams as well, because well, Juventus need a midfielder. So surely they're aiming for player X who is wanted by squad X, Y, and Z. So it makes for good clickbait, but 80% that I read is nothing but clickbait. Like the name Zach and I address, we get them via source, but if there was a transfer that would have been very, how shall I put it, that the signing of that player would depend on it becoming widely known, then I wouldn't know it. I knew with Cristiano Ronaldo, for that was back before my Turin Giants days. I think I was one of the first people on the planet to know about Cristiano Ronaldo. I actually had pictures of Agnelli boarding the private jet, and I had the a picture of the flight plan. So, but there were also things that I didn't know, and there are going to be a lot of things I didn't know. Um, what am I going to say?
Yeah, I can jump in real quick. I think that the obvious answer is that teams don't want people to know. They want to keep all this in house. But one, fans want to know. Okay. So then you have guys like Fabrizio Romano who goes out and becomes buddies with everybody and then gets fed information. You have agents who want to make moves for their players. So they're incentivized to leak whether real information or rumors to drum up interest for their players because they're trying to get their per diem, right? And so there's a lot of push and shove when it comes to this. I think what we're trying to do, and to speak selfishly about this show, is we as fans and as people who really enjoy the interaction with all of you want to give you what information we have. We're clearly not an international million person viewed program, right? Where we have fit in a perfect niche where we can share inside information within Juventus, not secondhand, third-hand information from some Twitter account or for some other guy. This is our own sourced Frederic internal information, and share it with all of you so that you can get some information, quality first-hand information about what is kind of happening within Juventus to your benefit. Right.
Yeah,
I think we're not trying to blow up Juventus's spot here. But at the same time, we're all in the same boat of desperately wanting to know what's going to happen next and to learn it as soon as possible. Right.
yeah, and I want to go on the record here and state that the things that I know or I get to know aren't what they used to be. In terms of several years ago, I had a direct contact within the board of management of Juventus. I got pictures to my phone from Higuain's medical that he did abroad, literally, with the name of Higuain and the team that gave the assignment to do his medical. I even knew about Pogba when he was leaving for Manchester prior to the rumors that started. And I was texting with Axel Witsel when he was eating pizza at Continassa. So, it also happens, sometimes by chance, sometimes by luck, but sometimes also by the people you know. And a lot of people in the media, because there's a lot of money involved with transfer news, especially in Italy, because there are literal shows built around this, papers that need filling up. So this is people's bread and butter at some certain point. So you have to take that into consideration when you read or you follow it, because to them, clicks mean money, or the number of newspapers or people that tune in mean money. Whether for us is just a hobby, and we don't stand to make any money of this, and we just do it because
I mean,
we
it's
love doing this and we love you guys. I mean,
yeah, it's for you guys. Yeah, I have all the text messages now, but I think the really key point is, and for people who followed Turn Giant since we rejoined YouTube over the summer, we've Frederic and I, just speaking about us because I don't want to talk for other people, but I bet they would agree. Is we've just really enjoyed the growing community with all of you, and we're at a scale where we don't need to worry about Juventus saying, "Guys, can you keep it quiet?" Right? We're at a scale where we can be open with you and share what
yeah.
we get because we're not competing with these Italian programs and stuff. So,
No, and also
yeah.
you have to be very critical, because I know Zach in the beginning was very critical of me.
Oh, I still
I
am.
can,
But
he still is.
that's your personality, not your
And
information.
no, in terms of information, but then you saw the facts, or the things that I said evolving into facts at a certain point, and you said, well, hey, maybe this guy's legit. Let's do something with it. So I mean, for me, like I said, it's not about cloud or financial gain. It's just I love doing this. I love texting Zach. I love texting my source and seeing what's evolving, and having this kind of feedback from you guys, and having Thomas ask us, would you guys consider call-ins or video calls to discuss? These are the things that mean the world to me. And from my point, to answer Thomas' question, I'd be open to that. I'm not sure what Zach's standpoint is on that, but
We frequently discuss, Thomas and everybody, um, how can we better interact with and engage with and just have fun with all of you. Like one thing is any day now, literally any day now, we will be releasing Scoop shirts with our Scoop logo, black shirt, Scoop logo on the front, just because one, Frederic and I wanted them, and we're like, hey, maybe you guys want them too. We think it's fun. Farhad created a voicemail that you and God, I never wrote the number down, so I don't know it. If you want it, I don't know it. We can get it to you, but for the purposes of having y'all call in questions and our thoughts, or just to troll us or have fun with us. So we're trying to we're trying our best, Thomas, to find ways to do that. And if it's not already clear to you watching, we all have day jobs, right? I am technically supposed to be working right now. Just don't tell anybody. So it's we're sort of juggling with trying to bolster our ability to connect and have fun with all of you while still making things work with the fact that we're all dads with who are married with kids who work full-time jobs. So,
but it's a good idea. I think we'll raise
yeah,
that in our next meeting and see what we can do. We'll
we've
also try to get
yeah we've had folks, like, we get people onto our episodes. I don't know if the Scoop would be the ideal forum for that, but we totally have listeners in on sort of our standard Turin Giants related sort of open talk episodes. So I think
DM
what we
us.
need to
Just DM.
yeah, I think what it is, and like when I look at the list, I think I almost recognize almost every single name, like truthfully, in
Mhm.
this chat, having seen almost all of, if not all of you before. And it's like, you being recognized, you being constant contributors, you subscribing and following our stuff, you guys following us on Instagram at Turn Giants, where we do have a lot of content. Just shoot Turn Giants on Instagram a message or comment to these videos, because on these videos, the two of us and Farhad monitor the comments in Turn Giants Instagram. Farhad, sort of the main dude who started it all, monitors those as well, and we'll try to make something happen. I think the more we
Yeah,
can interact and have fun with y'all, I think the better.
for sure, for sure. I mean, we'll definitely do that, and we'll get maybe some other prominent guests in to share their views about Mercato with us as well, because there are a lot of people within the Juventus world who also get fed a lot of information, and it'd be interesting to go back and forth with them. So we will improve. We're trying our
We'll
best,
try.
and
We'll try to.
we're trying. So shoot us a message, whatever. Let your voice be heard, and we'll do our best to get into the things that are needed to make the show better. So thank you guys for the time, effort, and support, because we really appreciate it.
Let's end with this. What's going to happen? First and foremost, we are going to have it's black and white before the end of the year. So the next couple days, we will be releasing our It's Black and White, where Frederic and I discuss Cambiaso's future. As you have continued to do, vote me the winner. That's really the important thing. I see you, Frederic. No, comment on who you think win, what your opinion is on that, and with any suggestions of what you want us to discuss in the future. Then obviously is the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. This has been a fantastic year for us, Frederic, in terms of growing and doing everything that we just talked about on the podcast. It's been great as our fan base, and I've gotten to know everybody here. So we really appreciate you, and we hope that 2026 will be even better. Then we have this weekend, we already have our post-game scheduled for Lecce. Kevin, who's part of our Turin Giants sort of core team, will be at the game, and so we'll be sure to get him in on our post-game to give us sort of the stadium reactions, which we know are just a very different experience from the game. Then as it dips into January, there will be more scoop episodes. We already have our first guest, Black and White. Jack has called Frederic out to debate a topic on It's Black and White, which will be released, I believe, the second week in January. And I believe that second week as well is when we will pick back up with our Thursday spot with Uncle Beppe on his on his YouTube, Just Juve, for his Juve Talk series. I'm assuming he'll have us back, right, Frederic? He misses his old friends, right?
I miss him a great deal, and I'm pretty desperately hoping that he'll join us on a scoop episode as well. So if you can,
we're
guys,
working on that, folks. Yeah, we're working.
Yeah, if you guys could give him a good nudge in the scoop direction via Instagram or YouTube or whatever, it would be much appreciated. So I don't have to nag him all the time, but I'm sure he'll be happy to join us for an episode or whatever.
He's just a busy dude. That's what it is.
He's very busy. Shout out to him, and shout out to the whole Turin Giants crew. The guys are really working their asses off and doing the best they can. And to finish this off, I mean, Happy New Year's to you guys. Enjoy the evening. Be responsible. I hope to see you back for the post game and in 2026. And I really want to underline the fact that we really, really enjoy your time and your support, because it means the world to us.
And I guess, I'll end with the fact that we're really shit at closing this out. I over 20 minutes ago, I said we were going to wrap up, and we're still talking.
It's just too much fun, man. It's just too much fun.
It really is. So, hey, but we are going to leave it at that. Everybody, thank you so much. Stay tuned for It's Black and White, and that will cap off the end of 2025 for us. And then we will see you for our first episode of 2026 after, hopefully, a victory this weekend. Thank you all. Take it easy, Frederic. As always, thanks for your information and hard work on the phones. And until next time, everybody, Forza Juve.